Check. When I was young, I really wanted to be an IPS officer. For those of you who don't know what an IPS officer is the highest achievable governmental position in the Indian civil exams, and it's an extremely grueling process to become an IPS officer. You have these really hard 3 stages to become an IPS officer, and at the last stage, you have to give an interview with an IPS officer. I don't know, maybe it was the society that I was brought up in, or maybe it was just my parents who really wanted me to achieve for something really high. But coming from a very academic background where I constantly wanted to test myself, I naturally wanted to watch these interviews. Everyone kept on building expectations on these interviews. I mean, these interviews were the last moment, the last check that you needed to become an IPS officer. So yeah, I wanted to watch an IPS officer interview, and one day it was posted on YouTube. And this one time I saw a girl from the Northeast. She was from the state of Arunachal Pradesh, and she was quite young. And the Northeast is a region within India that has constantly been identified as something within the media, something different, and this is my argument that I'd like to propose to each and every one of you listening. So, some of you guys might be wondering what were the questions that were being asked during the interview, and within my mindset, I thought it would be something really hard, like something geographical, something political, something that would take her aback, and it did, and it took me aback as well, because the question that was being asked was, could you go on to the next slide? Yeah, so the question that was being asked was, why do Northeasterns love K-pop so much? And even then, and even now, I think this question is something that's quite easily answerable for me. These studies, such as the Tatchwell and Turner studies, show that to build self-esteem and positive identity, people need to see their group in a positive light. And within Indian representation, whether it be through films and through music, the Northeast has never really been represented. I don't remember a single time when I was watching television growing up that I saw someone from the Northeast singing from my language or within my culture. Instead, I saw K-pop, because there was a channel that would show Korean music, Korean movies, Korean dramas, and I resonated with them more because I physically looked like them more. And the biggest media presentation of Indian culture globally as well is Bollywood. For those of you who don't know what Bollywood is, it's a mix of the word Bombay and Hollywood. And as vocabulary.com describes it, it's the Indian film industry with the word emphasis on Indian. When we talk about India, we obviously have to include the conversation of Northeasterns being constantly left out of it. And this has been a constant argument within my people and within my state and the Northeast region. With Bollywood, there was one time there was a film that really struck me to my heart because it had hurt me so painfully. When someone from the Northeast succeeds, because we rarely receive any national coverage or unimaginably even international coverage, there was once a woman called Mary Kom, and I'm sure you've all heard her voice. She's an international boxer. When Mary Kom had succeeded and put the map for Indian boxing globally, there was a movie that was going to be based from Bollywood on Mary Kom. Everyone had expected her to be someone from the Northeast, because after all, she is from the Northeast region. But instead, it was Priyanka Chopra playing it, and she's not Northeastern. She doesn't look like us, she doesn't share the same cultures as us, and she was not brought up in the same state that Mary Kom was brought up in, which is Manipur, and that is within the region of Northeast. And when you look up Indian culture or anything about India, in Pinterest, in Instagram, in Twitter, in Google, this is all that shows up. And you could say that this is an argument within the South as well. But the Northeasterns have constantly been left out of the conversation. When you talk about the Indian identity and the Indian states, conversation about food comes up, right? With the South, it's, oh, idli dosa. With Punjab, it's bhangra. And then there's so much like Diwali, Holi, but there's never a conversation about the Northeast. The Northeast has beautiful rolling hills. We have beautiful music. We have beautiful voices that chant the music, and we have so much history behind us. We have history with the states of Japan, Myanmar, Nepal, and yet that is never ever acknowledged in our textbooks when we grow up. So, when we're rarely presented in media, what are the potential and actual outcomes that come out of this? The actual outcome of when media does present Nagaland is during the Hornbill Festival. I'll be focusing it on my case study of Nagaland because I come from Nagaland, and when media does present the Northeast and Nagaland is during Hornbill. To give a bit of a context, Nagaland has several tribes within its state. And within these tribes, each tribe has their own festival. But the one time that all the tribes come together is during the first week of December when we celebrate Hornbill, when all the tribes come together. And this has received international coverage across the globe, and it has become a tourist attraction. But the truth is that my people are constantly under the assumption that we're exotic to India. Whenever we come out of the Northeast, and this is my personal story, that I've been constantly being asked for pictures. I've been asked if I'm even Indian. I've been asked if I was Chinese. And my identity as an Indian is hardly ever acknowledged when I step out of the Northeast region. When news outlets do give coverage to Northeast and Nagaland, and they present the Hornbill Festival as something like a very commercialized sector. After all, the aim is to get as much as tourist attractions as possible, right? So the main point of the whole media reporting is to attract people to invest money into Nagaland, and especially the state in itself. The national state has invested several of crores and has received several crores in return after the Hornbill Festival. But there are pressing problems in Nagaland, such as unemployment, such as lack of resources that do not receive as much investment as tourism does. And when media does cover tourism, it never acknowledges Naga history. Hornbill has been formed as a festival through history. It signifies so much more than just festivities. It signifies unity among diversity within one small, single state. And when media reports the Hornbill Festival, it represents it as something, as a sort of like a very superficial factor towards Nagas. We're represented as sort of commercialized products to come and see. We're represented as these people that are so, in very double standardly like stated ways, heavily unique to India. And we don't understand why inclusivity is not in the question when we talk about a festival such as Hornbill. Because when Diwali is talked about, when Holi is talked about, this question of being unique to India, something that's so different to India, has never come up. And this sort of exotic image that the reporting of Hornbill has represented us with is deep entrenches with our identity as Nagas. When Nagas are often portrayed as exotic, we're portrayed as something other than Indian. We're portrayed as something that is as coined as a foreigner that does not belong to India. And this image has been constantly portrayed for us to even internalize it. Naga teenagers especially, when they go outside of Nagaland and outside of Northeast, they're constantly faced with violences and assaults that have been reported by several news outlets. And what does the media fail to report? So within Nagaland, there is an acknowledgement of the crimes that has been happening and all the political insurgencies. Political insurgencies are when the militant groups of Nagaland that has come up have been asking illegally for taxes, and they've been also assaulting and instigating violence within Nagaland. When reporting such violences in Nagaland, the media represents the whole entire region of Northeast and Nagaland as something like a very corrupt state, a corrupt state where its people want its violence in itself. And the media has represented Nagaland to be completely unsafe, when really insurgency has been a talk that has been constantly progressing with time. This has led to several different outcomes. A story I'd like to share was when a friend of mine, she was not from the Northeast, and this was long ago, so she asked me, my parents really want to visit Hornbill, because obviously the only thing they know about Nagaland is Hornbill, because that's the only good thing that they say about Nagaland, that Hornbill. So when she asked me, my family wants to visit Hornbill, is it safe? I heard there are headhunters. Do headhunters still exist? I think that story still sticks with me today, because it just goes to show that our history is rarely acknowledged. And when the argument of AFSPA comes up, AFSPA stands for the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. So under AFSPA, in order to deal with insurgencies, they do not require a warrant to come into your house to arrest you or to search you or to physically assault you. And naturally, along these special powers where they do not need a warrant to commit any of these things, several crimes are committed, such as rape, such as violence against locals, and has instigated violence between locals because of AFSPA. And under AFSPA, the media has strategically ignored these human violences. And even today, when I talk about AFSPA, hardly anyone knows about AFSPA and the things that have been committed under AFSPA in Nagaland. Mukhopadhyay's research paper from the University of Calcutta has studied from the year 1970 to present day how newspapers has revealed a sort of structural bias when media outlets ignore the human violences. They report about AFSPA, but they do not report about the human violences. They just simply report about the policy discussions happening and the disagreement towards AFSPA. What does this image portray of Nagaland? Towards national news, and when this goes national, people outside of Northeast tend to look at Northeasters and Nagas as people who are unaccommodating. They view us as people who are simply angry and full of rage and rebellion when outside forces come. This has even led to business investors refusing to invest within the economy of India, within the economy of Nagaland, and this has obstructed development in Nagaland in several different ways. And when you talk about the lack of media coverage, a recent interview with Rahul Gandhi and a few Naga students had revealed him like talking about, are you guys scared about like going outside of Nagaland? And the Naga students had told with much fear that yes, we do fear going out of Northeast, out of Nagaland, because this fear of being called racial slurs and being outcasted still persists. And Rahul Gandhi had stated that, it's not because of any ill intent, it's simply because of ignorance. And yes, that is the truth. There is a very big part of ignorance within present-day society towards Northeast, but ignorance goes a long way. And ignorance actually fuels violence. And this is presented during the COVID times. During COVID, due to the lack of opportunities, a bunch of Naga students always go and study together. They go study together so that they can rent an apartment together or they can live in a community together. So they go to metropolitan cities such as Delhi, Pune, or Bangalore to achieve like a higher level of education due to the lack of resources back home. And during COVID, because of the lack of like education and sheer ignorance towards Naga identity and Northeastern identity, a lot of Northeasterns were called Chinese, and because COVID had originated from China, Wuhan, racism had really peaked during COVID, and Nagas, my people, and Northeasterns had shared the brunt of it. So In Delhi, northeastern women were spat on and called corona, and this was reported in The Hindu. And in places such as Bangalore, Calcutta, Pune, Naga residents were evicted or denied entry to shops. And by being evicted, this was force, this was sheer force. They were kicked out of their homes that they were staying in for quite a time. And this actually presents us how society is regressing with the lack of media coverage towards Northeast, because the media actually covers education as well. And with society regressing and with crimes such as this happening towards my people, it presents us like this very eerie comparison towards the colonial times when Indians themselves were kicked out of restaurants by the Britishers, and now we as Indians are doing it towards our own people just simply because we look different. Media must thus reform itself. Media has to realize that this bias has gone a long way. When Mary Kom had first achieved her feat in boxing, it was phenomenal. I mean, India had taken off with this, and she was India's pride, while she was Northeast's pride. Imagine if this same sort of perspective of media that they gave to Mary Kom when she achieved her feat was given to other stuff in Northeast, such as the art scene in Nagaland or the music scene in Meghalaya. If the same sort of respect, the same sort of attention was given to several different areas in the Northeast, this would break several different stereotypes and several different violences that my people constantly face. So, what headline will you choose to read, share, or even create? Because in today's world, globalization and the technological revolution has given us each the chance to give ourselves a voice, ourselves a chance to show our perspectives to the world. Thank you.